The arrogance of the galaxy. The galaxy had forgotten what fear felt like. For thousands of years, the Galactic Council ruled with pride and cold arrogance. They believed they were the center of all wisdom, all knowledge, and all civilization. Among their shining worlds and endless fleets, one name was always mocked: Deathworlders. To the Council, humans were a strange mistake of nature, a species from a world too harsh to produce peace, too violent to be trusted. The name Deathworld itself made many laugh. They said no intelligent species could come from such a place. They said Earth was cursed in a world of storms, beasts, and endless wars, and yet, from that same dangerous world came humanity, born in fire, tempered in pain and raised by struggle. On the day it began, the council hall was filled with noise. Alien delegates argued, shouted, and mocked the envoy from Earth. A tall, calm man stood in the center, Ambassador Ryan Hale, the representative of humanity. He spoke softly with patience. He reminded them that humans had honored the peace treaties, that the colonies on the edge of the Orion Arm only wished to live in peace. But the laughter drowned his voice. The Cathari delegate, a creature with golden scales and sharp teeth, hissed loudly. "Peace? You Deathworlders know only war," it said. The hall erupted in cruel laughter. The humans had no allies there, only enemies wrapped in smiles. Ryan Hale lowered his head. He knew what was coming. The council had already approved inspection raids on the Terran colonies. They called it monitoring for aggression, but everyone knew it was something else. A show of dominance, a reminder that humans were not equals. That same day, in the colony of Vega 9, human farmers watched the sky burn. Alien ships entered orbit without warning. They claimed to be checking for weapons, but they came with cannons charged. When one nervous alien soldier fired at a human mining vehicle, everything changed. The blast destroyed half the colony. Killing dozens of civilians, the aliens left, saying it was an accident. But the images of the dead children reached Earth within hours. Across every human world, silence spread. Not the silence of fear, but the silence of something ancient, the kind that comes before a storm on Mars. The old Terran military command centers came alive again. Lights flickered in bunkers that had been dark for centuries. Deep under the red dust, computers began to hum. An old code was entered, one that hadn't been used since the Great Wars. The system confirmed the identity of the one who entered it. Authorization Ragnarok Protocol, the machine said softly. Far above Earth, the orbital defense array powered up. The AI core, known only as Ares, spoke for the first time in 200 years. Command received, activating human defense networks, it said. From Luna to Titan, signals pulsed across the void. Satellites turned, silent ships came online. No public announcement was made, no speeches were given. Humanity simply began to prepare on the Galactic Council worlds. The news anchors laughed again. They showed images of angry humans protesting. They called them dramatic, emotional, childish. They said Earth would never dare challenge the galaxy, the same galaxy that had once taken everything from them. But deep inside the Terran system, fleets of dark steel waited. Massive dreadnoughts slept under oceans hidden in shadows of moons. Each ship bore the old insignia, the clawed mark of the Deathworlders. The humans had learned something long ago. They had learned patience. They had learned to smile while their enemies mocked them. Because when the time came, humans did not scream. They simply acted. Ambassador Ryan Hale was recalled from the council after the Vega 9 attack. He returned to Earth quietly, without anger, without words. But those who saw his face said his eyes had changed. He stood in front of the Terran High Command and spoke only one line. "They have forgotten who we are," he said, "and we will remind them." That night, the stars above Earth seemed to burn brighter, not from nature but from purpose. Invisible waves of data raced through space. Old fleets received new commands, dormant factories came to life. Building engines of war older than most civilizations in the galaxy. The Deathworlders did not announce their wrath. They prepared it in silence far away in the shining worlds of the Council. No one noticed. The arrogant laughed, the proud boasted, and the weak obeyed. None of them believed the humans would ever strike back after all. Who would fear a small race from a dying blue world? But the universe was about to remember. It would remember the rage of the Deathworlders, the fury of a species that had survived everything their world threw at them. The storms, the beasts, the wars, and themselves, and now, their patience had reached its end. The galaxy had mocked the Deathworlders for the last time. and deep within the void, Earth's heart began to beat for war again. The silent awakening. The stars above Earth were quiet. Too quiet. To most of the galaxy. That silence meant nothing, but for humanity, it was the sound before thunder. No one spoke, no one cheered, no one called for war openly. Yet every heart that beat on Earth and its colonies moved with the same purpose. They had been mocked, insulted, and attacked. Now, they would respond in the only language the galaxy understood. In the cold void above Mars, the vigilant Dawn woke first. Her engines hummed softly, like a sleeping giant stretching after a long dream. Dust fell from her hull as power flowed through her circuits again. Inside, the ship's AI flickered to life. A voice, calm and female, spoke. Reactor at 90%, weapons online. Communication link restored. It paused, as if remembering its purpose. Then the words came clearly. Ragnarok protocol active. Across the solar system, more ships followed. Old dreadnoughts, corvettes and cruisers, all built in forgotten shipyards. They had been silent for centuries. Sealed beneath oceans, moons, and asteroids. Now they woke together, their engines shining like blue suns. One by one, they aligned toward the stars, their systems connecting to the central Terran command grid. From the orbit of Neptune, the Eidolon opened its long-range sensors. It scanned the darkness. Searching for anything alien near human space, it found them. Council patrol ships, smug and careless, watching humanity from a distance. The Eidolon said nothing. It simply sent a message to Earth and waited down on Earth. Cities glowed in the night, but beneath them, deep under mountains and oceans, the real power moved. In an ancient facility beneath the Pacific floor, thousands of operators worked in silence. Screens lit their faces, showing maps of stars, enemy positions, and hidden routes. At the center of the room stood a woman in a dark uniform. Her name was Admiral Kayla Drayan. She had trained her whole life for this moment. Her voice was calm when she spoke. "Do not send warnings," she said. "Do not make threats. Do not make speeches." Her officers nodded. They all knew the rule of the Deathworlders. Never warn, never beg, only strike when ready. Meanwhile, the Galactic Council continued to laugh. News networks called humans unstable primates. Scholars debated whether Earth should be removed from the star charts entirely. They believed humanity was still weak, still fractured. They didn't know that every human world had already gone dark. Communication silent. No signals leaving. They didn't know that the silence itself was the message. Humanity had withdrawn from the galaxy, not in fear, but in preparation. On Luna, massive hangar doors opened, releasing swarms of drones into space. They carried materials, fuel, and weapons to the hidden shipyards orbiting Pluto. There, new ships were being built, their hulls black and invisible to sensors. Each ship was shaped for war. No banners, no emblems, no mercy. The engineers spoke little, only following the coded orders sent by command. Every message ended the same way. For the fallen of Vega 9, back on Mars in the red dust valleys, something older than anyone alive began to move. Buried long ago, a city-sized war engine known as Prometheus rose from the ground. It was not just a ship. It was a relic of Earth's last great war. Its armor was made from compressed neutron matter, its weapons could split moons, and its AI core, once locked by peace treaties, now spoke again. Directive accepted, it said. Target parameters. Galactic Council aggressors. From the outer colonies came fleets of smaller ships. Civilian freighters rearmed with plasma cannons. Asteroid miners refitted with kinetic railguns. Every human who could fight joined without question. The old divisions of nation and flag vanished. They were not Americans, Asians, or Martians anymore. They were Deathworlders united by loss and purpose. Ambassador Ryan Hale watched the rising fleets from the viewing deck of the Terran Orbital Command Station. He stood silently as ship after ship rose from the atmosphere below. His reflection in the glass looked tired but unbroken. The memory of the laughing alien still echoed in his mind. He whispered softly, "You wanted to see our true nature." Then he turned away. "Now you will." Far beyond the system, alien patrols began to notice something strange. Human radio channels were dead. No trade ships, no travelers, no signals of life, and just darkness. Some dismissed it as weakness, thinking humans had given up. Others began to feel something unfamiliar, fear. In the void of space, silence is not peace. Silence means something is coming, something too quiet, too careful, too ready, in less than a week. The Terran system was transformed. The colonies united, the fleets armed, and the command channels sealed. Even the civilian networks changed, showing only one symbol, a crimson hand over a burning star. The mark of the Deathworlders, a warning that peace had ended. The galaxy still did not understand. They thought humanity was only making noise. They didn't realize the silence between the stars was the sound of weapons charging. They didn't see the gathering storm. They didn't know that the Deathworlders, once patient and humble, had finally opened their eyes. And in that cold, perfect silence, humanity prepared to rewrite the galaxy's history with fire. The first strike. The galaxy slept in arrogance, unaware that the Deathworlders had already moved. For weeks, human fleets had hidden in the dark, silent and unseen. No broadcast, no signal, no message escaped the Terran borders to outsiders. It seemed that humanity had accepted defeat. But deep inside that silence, something vast was awakening. The vigilant Dawn, Eidolon, and Prometheus stood ready, their weapons armed. Each ship carried a crew that knew they might never return. They did not fear death. They feared failure. They knew that the galaxy must learn, once and for all, why Earth was called a death world. On the 10th day after the Vega 9 massacre, the first alien fleet entered human space. It was a peace inspection from the Cathari Dominion. 23 warships in shining gold armor. They sent messages demanding human surrender, demanding Earth's leaders appear before the Council. But no reply came, only silence. The commander of the alien fleet laughed and ordered his ships closer to Earth. He did not know that the humans were already watching from the shadows, far beyond Pluto's orbit. The Eidolon drifted in the darkness, cloaked and silent. Its sensors tracked the alien fleet perfectly. Every engine pulse, every movement inside the command bridge. Captain Arik Voss watched in silence. He stood tall, his face calm, his eyes cold. "Target range confirmed," said the ship's AI. "Athena," Voss nodded slowly. "Transmit nothing," he said. "Fire when ready." A moment later, the void exploded with light. No warning, no words, no mercy. Invisible missiles streaked across the blackness. Moving faster than light itself, the alien fleet never saw them coming. Their shields failed in seconds, hulls ripped open like paper, one by one. The golden ships vanished into clouds of molten metal. When the last one burned, the void went quiet again. Not even a distress signal escaped back on Earth. Terran Command watched the data feed appear on their screens. No celebration followed, no cheers, just quiet acknowledgement. Admiral Drayan gave a single command: begin Phase 2. Across the solar system, gates of blue light opened as jump drives ignited. The Deathworlder fleets disappeared into hyperspace. Their destination, the border worlds of the Council. No one in the galaxy noticed until it was far too late. In the capital world of the Cathari Dominion, alarms screamed suddenly. Unknown vessels appeared in orbit, silent and dark. Then the sky turned white. Orbital defenses were destroyed before they could react. Human troops landed in shock waves of fire, their armor black and faceless. They moved like shadows through the alien cities, not to conquer, but to deliver a message. Every screen on the planet lit up with one phrase written in human letters. For Vega 9, the entire planet went dark moments later. No survivors, no transmissions, only ruins under a silent sky. The Council met in panic. They could not believe it. They demanded answers, they blamed each other. But the truth spread faster than they could hide it. Someone had seen the attack, a merchant ship passing through the system. Its last transmission was shaky and terrified. They appeared out of nowhere, the captain said. Black ships, no insignia, no sound, no mercy. Then the message ended. The Council finally realized the horror. The Deathworlders had struck first, and they had done it perfectly. The aliens sent fleets to retaliate, but those fleets never came back. The humans knew every route, every weakness, every blind spot. They moved faster, smarter, and quieter than anyone had thought possible. Every battle lasted only minutes, and every time it ended, the same words were left behind. Ragnarok protocol active. Back on the Terran flagship Prometheus, Admiral Drayan stood before her officers. They had won 5 systems already, but her face showed no joy. "This is not conquest," she said softly. "This is justice." She turned to the stars ahead. "Let them remember who we are." The galaxy trembled, empires began to collapse. Worlds that once laughed at Earth now whispered in fear. They spoke of human ships that came without light, that struck without warning. They called them ghosts of the void. But the Deathworlders had another name for themselves. Guardians of Vengeance. In one corner of the galaxy, a small child on a distant world looked up at the night sky. He saw human ships streaking like shooting stars and whispered to his mother, "Are they angels or monsters?" The mother did not answer because no one knew anymore. In just 3 days, 5 alien fleets were gone. The Council finally sent a desperate message to Earth. Begging for peace, no reply came, only silence. The same silence that had begun this war. And through that silence, the galaxy began to understand. The Deathworlders had snapped, and there would be no turning back. The Council in panic, the Galactic Council chamber, once filled with laughter and arrogance, now echoed with fear. Holographic displays showed entire sectors burning, colonies gone, fleets erased. No one wanted to admit the truth, but it was clear. The Deathworlders had awakened, and they were unstoppable. Ambassador Ryan Hale's chair stood empty in the center of the hall. The humans had withdrawn from the Council weeks ago. Now that empty seat felt like a ghost, a silent reminder of what they had mocked around it. Alien leaders shouted and blamed each other. "The Terrans have gone mad," screamed a silver-skinned envoy from the Vicar Dominion. "They destroyed 5 of our fleets without warning." Another delegate hissed in panic. "They are Deathworlders, what did you expect?" The Supreme Speaker of the Council, a tall insectoid creature named Stare, slammed its claw against the table. "Silence," it shouted, its voice shaking. "They must be stopped before the war spreads." But deep down they all knew it was already too late. The humans had already spread across half the outer rim, striking fast and vanishing. Every time the Council prepared a trap, the Deathworlders were already gone, leaving nothing but silence and wreckage. On the outer world of Kelra Prime, refugees filled the skies. The entire planet was being evacuated after reports of human infiltration. They said black armored soldiers had appeared in the night. No ships detected, no engines. Just shadows moving like ghosts when the soldiers left. The planetary governor's mansion was gone. Only a single phrase was burned into the walls. "We remember Vega 9. In the council hall, panic turned to disbelief. They could not understand how such a young species had built such power. The Zilari scientist tried to explain. "They fight differently," she said. "They learn, they adapt. They remember everything." But her words were drowned by shouting. Pride still poisoned them even in fear. They could not accept that the Deathworlders, once mocked as primitive, were now rewriting the rules of war. The news spread faster than light. Every system, every channel spoke of the same thing. The Black Fleets, the Ghost Armada, the Ragnarok Wave, different names, same fear. Planets began to surrender before even seeing a single human ship. They broadcast messages into the void. "We surrender, we mean no harm. Please spare us," but no reply came, only silence. The silence had become the symbol of human vengeance. Deep within the Terran flagship Prometheus, Admiral Drayan watched the chaos unfold from her command deck. Reports came from every sector, the council worlds falling one by one. Her officers waited for her next command. But Drayan was quiet, staring at the holographic map. "Admiral," one of them asked softly, "do we continue the strike?" Drayan turned her gaze to him, her eyes cold as iron. "They called us monsters," she said. "Now they will see what monsters truly are." Meanwhile, on the Council's secret defense world, Karsol, a massive meeting took place. Military leaders from all major empires gathered in one chamber. They spoke of forming a united fleet. 5,000 ships, the largest in galactic history. But even as they planned, they did not know. The Deathworlders were already listening. A small drone hidden in the chamber transmitted every word back to Earth. By the time the Council finished its plan, humanity already knew the coordinates of the gathering fleet. When the Allied Armada finally assembled near the star Hyrath, the humans struck first. No ships appeared in normal space. Instead, the sun itself darkened, then, one by one, the stars surrounding Hyrath began to flicker. Moments later, the entire system vanished in a single blinding flash. The explosion reached across sectors, wiping out everything in its path. When the light faded, the Council's great armada was gone. Billions of lives erased in seconds. Back in the Council chamber, the surviving leaders sat in silence. No one spoke, no one moved. The once proud hall now smelled of fear. The Supreme Speaker finally whispered, "They have the power to destroy stars." The words froze everyone. The Deathworlders had done what no one thought possible. They had turned the laws of nature into weapons. Across the galaxy, panic became chaos. Entire empires collapsed as their citizens fled from systems near human space. Trade routes died. Communication networks failed. The galaxy that once ruled over Earth now begged for mercy from it. But there was no answer. Only the cold, unbroken silence that followed every Deathworlder strike. In the void, the Terran fleets regrouped. They did not chase glory, they did not conquer worlds. They simply destroyed every fleet, every weapon, every symbol of arrogance that had once mocked them. And when their work was done, they vanished into the dark again. The galaxy began to whisper new legends. Stories of humans who moved like shadows, of ships that made no sound but left stars burning behind them. The aliens no longer laughed at the name Deathworlders. Now they spoke it in fear, and in that fear, the galaxy began to understand. Humanity had not just declared war, they had declared judgment. The fall of the proud far beyond the shattered council worlds. One empire still stood tall, the Vakar Dominion, the oldest and most powerful of all. They had ruled for 10,000 years, spreading fear across the stars. They believed themselves untouchable, their fleets unmatched, their arrogance endless. When they saw the other empires burn under the Deathworlders' wrath, they did not tremble. They laughed. "We are not the weaklings of the council," their emperor declared, his voice echoing through the grand halls of Vakar Prime. "Let the humans come, we will crush them like dust." The Dominion prepared for war. They gathered 5,000 ships, from battlecruisers to planet destroyers. Their soldiers chanted proudly, believing the Deathworlders were only lucky savages with stolen technology. But they didn't understand what they were facing. They didn't understand that humans did not rely on luck. They relied on rage, precision, and purpose. In the blackness of space, far from any sun, the Terran flagship Prometheus drifted quietly. Admiral Kayla Drayan stood before her command table, her eyes locked on the holographic projection of the Vakar Armada. Each red dot represented a ship. There were thousands, stretching across the system like a wall of fire. Her officers waited for the order, but she said nothing for a long moment. Then her calm voice filled the room. "They believe they are safe behind numbers," she said slowly. "They forget that numbers mean nothing against precision." Deep inside the ship, the Ares AI core spoke, its voice deep and calm. "Ragnarok weapon is charged, awaiting target." Drayan turned her head slightly. "Target Vakar main fleet formation," she said. The AI paused. "Confirmation required, Admiral. Activation will result in total annihilation." She closed her eyes for a second, then whispered, "Confirm," far across the void, hidden in orbit of a dying neutron star. A weapon awoke. It had no name, no crew, no mercy. It was built centuries ago in secret, forged from the remains of human wars. A relic of desperation now reborn. It was called the Harbinger. When it powered up, the neutron star itself began to scream. Energy levels spiked beyond measurable limits. Every sensor in the region went blind. And then, in a moment of terrifying silence, the universe seemed to hold its breath. The Vakar fleet commander, confident and smiling, looked at the screens. "Our sensors show nothing. Humans are cowards," he said proudly. But his words were cut short when the sky turned white. The light came first, bright as creation. Then came the sound, not through the air but through every hull, every mind, every bone. The shockwave hit them before they could blink. 5,000 ships vanished in seconds. No wreckage, no survivors, just radiation and silence. The Harbinger had done its work. From across the galaxy, signals vanished. Planets that had aligned with the Vakar suddenly lost contact with their leaders. Entire sectors went dark. The once proud Dominion was gone in less than a day. The galaxy fell into disbelief. No empire had ever fallen so fast. So completely the council chambers, now half empty, received the final transmission from Vakar space. A static-filled voice whispered, "They used the stars against us." Then it ended. Admiral Drayan stood on the bridge of the Prometheus. Her expression calm, her officers looked at her. Uncertain, one of them spoke softly. "Admiral, the Vakar are gone. Their systems destroyed." She nodded slowly. "Then the message is clear," she said. "Let the rest of the galaxy decide what comes next." Back on Earth, the old cities lit up in silence. No celebrations, no banners, no songs. Humanity did not cheer for victory. They mourned the necessity of it. In the quiet halls of Terran Command, Ryan Hale stood beside a window overlooking the blue planet. He whispered to himself, "They called us monsters. His reflection looked back at him with cold eyes. Perhaps they were right, but far away, in the ruins of the Vakar Dominion, survivors spoke in fear. They told stories of the humans who came not to conquer but to erase. Ships that moved like shadows. Soldiers that appeared in silence and left fire behind in every destroyed city. They found the same mark carved into stone walls. The symbol of the Deathworlders. A hand gripping a burning star. It became a legend. Whispered by the few who escaped. A warning to all who would rise against Earth again, across the galaxy. Systems that had once mocked humanity now sent messages of surrender. Some offered tribute, others begged for peace. But Earth remained silent. The Deathworlders had no interest in ruling. They only wanted the galaxy to remember. And now it did. The mighty Vakar Dominion had fallen. The proud had been humbled, and somewhere in the cold void, the Harbinger drifted quietly, waiting for the next command. Its last message echoed through the void, a whisper carried by dying stars. The Deathworlders do not forgive. The message from Earth, the galaxy was silent. Not the peaceful kind of silence, but the kind that came after something terrible. After the Vakar Dominion vanished. No one spoke for weeks, trade routes went dark. Communication networks stopped, and entire star systems hid behind shields. Every race waited, trembling, wondering if the humans would come for them next. On the edge of the Milky Way, the Terran flagship Prometheus floated above the blue light of Earth. Inside, Admiral Kayla Drayan stood before a large holographic screen that stretched across the bridge. It showed every world, every empire, every signal across the galaxy. All of them silent, watching, waiting. Her officers stood behind her, quiet, respectful. They knew what was about to happen. It wasn't another strike. It was something far more powerful. Words. Drayan pressed a small panel on the console. The system connected to every known communication frequency. Civilian, military, private, encrypted, it didn't matter. The humans had control of them all now. A symbol appeared on every screen across the galaxy. A crimson hand holding a burning star. The mark of the Deathworlders. Then a voice spoke. Calm and clear. It wasn't robotic, it wasn't angry, it was human. Citizens of the galaxy, the voice said. You have spoken about us for centuries. You have called us monsters, savages. Beasts from a death world, the voice paused. You said we did not belong among the stars. Across thousands of worlds, aliens stopped whatever they were doing in markets, in military stations. In homes, they all listened, the voice continued. You sent fleets to our colonies, you burned our homes. You killed our children. And when we asked for peace, you laughed, the tone shifted, cold and heavy. Now, you see the cost of that laughter. Images began to appear alongside the voice. Footage of Vega 9 burning, humans helping one another under fire, alien soldiers laughing over the wreckage. Then came the images of human fleets, rising from the dark, moving like storms through space, explosions, broken armadas, the destruction of the Vakar Dominion. The galaxy watched in silence. The voice went on, we did not start this war, but we will finish it on our terms. On the bridge of Prometheus, Ryan Hale stood beside Drayan, watching the broadcast unfold. It was his voice that echoed through every speaker in the galaxy. He looked calm, but his heart carried the weight of millions of lives lost. Humanity has no wish to rule your worlds, he continued. We do not desire thrones or empires, or tribute. He leaned forward slightly, his voice soft but sharp as a blade. But we will never kneel again. On the alien homeworld of Theris, crowds gathered in front of holoscreens. Many fell to their knees as the images played. They had mocked the humans for centuries. Now they watched as their fleets, their proud empires crumbled like dust. Children hid behind their parents. Elders whispered prayers, and somewhere deep inside, even the cruelest among them felt shame. The broadcast continued. You called our world a death world, Ryan said. And you were right. He paused, his voice growing colder. But from death comes strength, from pain comes unity. And from silence comes vengeance. He looked into the camera, his eyes steady and unflinching. This message is not a threat, he said. It is a reminder. On every alien world, the message ended the same way. A burning Earth symbol appeared on screen, surrounded by a single sentence. Do not test the patience of Deathworlders again. Then the transmission ended. The galaxy sat in silence. Entire worlds didn't move for hours. Governments hesitated to even breathe. No one wanted to send a message that might be misunderstood as defiance, because now everyone knew that even one insult, one act of arrogance, could bring fire upon them inside Prometheus. Admiral Drayan turned to Ryan. "You think they'll listen?" she asked quietly. Ryan looked at the glowing earth below. "They'll listen," he said. "For the first time in history, they'll listen." Across the galaxy, the words of the message spread like a storm. It was replayed, studied, translated, and feared. Entire races changed their policies overnight. Even the strongest empires began sending aid to human colonies. Desperate to prove their peace, no one wanted to face the wrath of the Deathworlders again. But among the stars, whispers grew. Not all agreed with the message. Some believed the humans had gone too far. Others said they were gods in mortal form, and a few foolish or brave began to plot revenge. But deep in their hearts, even they knew, if they ever made that mistake again, the Deathworlders would return, and this time there would be no survivors. The galaxy had heard the message from Earth, and the stars themselves seemed to bow in silence for the first time in galactic history. The universe understood one truth: you do not mock a death world, and you never, ever provoke humanity. The price of arrogance, the war had ended, but the silence it left behind was heavier than any sound. Across the stars, entire civilizations stood in ruins, their fleets reduced to dust, their worlds scarred with fire. The galaxy, once proud and united under arrogance, now bowed its head in fear and guilt. The Deathworlders had not conquered. They had simply reminded everyone what it meant to provoke a world born from chaos. In the orbit above Earth, the Terran flagship Prometheus floated quietly, its hull scarred, its engines dim. Inside, Admiral Drayan stood by the viewing window, staring at the blue world below. For the first time in months, she saw sunlight breaking over the clouds. Children were playing again in the streets of New London. Cities rebuilt, gardens blooming. But her eyes did not hold peace. They held memory of screams, of light, of the silence that followed every strike. Behind her, Ryan Hale entered the bridge. He carried no rank now, only the weight of what humanity had done. "They're calling it the War of Reckoning," he said softly. Drayan did not reply. She only whispered, "No, it was the War of Remembrance." He nodded slowly. "They will never forget. On distant worlds, survivors rebuilt under quiet skies. The Vikar ruins turned to dust. The council planets now open to the cold of space, yet, amidst the ruins, something unexpected began to grow. Peace, the kind born not from treaties or promises, but from fear and understanding. No one dared raise a weapon against Earth again. No one dared even speak the word Deathworlder without respect. In the Galactic Archive, a young historian recorded the last transmission from Earth. It was simple, only one sentence long: "May arrogance never blind the stars again." He listened to it over and over. Each time he felt a chill run through his body. He realized that humanity had not wanted to rule. They had only wanted to be left in peace, but when peace was denied, they showed the universe the cost far from the core worlds. On a small moon colony once ruled by the council, an alien child looked up at the night sky. She asked her mother, "Will the humans come back?" Her mother smiled sadly and held her close. "If they do, child," she whispered, "pray that it is as friends back on Earth." Great monuments rose for the fallen, not just for the humans who died, but for the billions who had perished across the galaxy, names carved in steel, spanning miles. Admiral Drayan visited the memorial once every week. She placed her hand on the cold surface and spoke softly. "We didn't want this," she said, "but you left us no choice." In the years that followed, humanity changed. The fleets were not dismantled, but they were hidden, waiting in the void like sleeping gods. The Terran Defense Command became the guardians of silence. Their duty was not to conquer, but to ensure balance. Every few decades, the galaxy would see a glimpse of a black ship in the stars, and remember that somewhere out there, the Deathworlders still watched. Legends began to form, stories told to alien children before sleep. "Do not lie, or the humans will come," they said. "Do not mock the weak, or the Deathworlders will hear you." In time, humanity became something more than a species. They became a myth, a force of nature, a reminder written in fire across the heavens. Centuries passed. The galaxy rebuilt. Slower but wiser, the council never reformed. The empires never rose again. Instead, a quiet unity spread among the stars. not born of love but of shared memory. Every star carried the echo of the same story. The day the galaxy mocked Earth and Earth answered on a quiet evening, Ryan Hale stood alone by the sea, the waves soft and endless. He looked up at the sky, where thousands of stars shone brightly. Each one carried history, pain, and peace. He smiled faintly. They finally learned, he whispered. Drayan's voice echoed in his memory. Fear taught them what respect never could. A soft wind passed, carrying the scent of the ocean, and for the first time the stars did not feel cold. They felt calm, watching, remembering, because the galaxy had finally understood the truth. The Deathworlders never wanted war. They wanted peace, but if peace required fire, then fire they would bring, somewhere beyond the edge of known space. A single human beacon still pulsed, a lonely signal repeating every century. Its words simple, unchanging, eternal. We are the children of Earth. We do not start wars, but we end them. And so the legend of the Deathworlders became eternal, a warning written in the stars, a lesson carved into the bones of every world that arrogance has a price, and humanity had made the galaxy pay it in full.